Bane Elemental probably needs a BKB more urgently, or a Necronomicon 3 would be great, or even a Hex Stick. Like comparing a Hex Stick to Aga, like which one do you want? I think most captains and most competitive teams would definitely want the Hex over Aga, and you're not gonna get a Aga Scepter on a Viper. So like, I mean, but okay, there's a lot of heroes that did get slight buffs, and keep in mind that it's really important to know that Dota is it's the ways that heroes are picked or banned is based on very trendy things. Like remember, 8 versions ago where Windrunner was introduced and released into Crystal Maiden mode, CM mode, no one ever picked Windrunner, and like throughout the version she has never changed. Of course the metagame around her has changed, but really other than the recent 2 months or 3 months surge of popularity of Windrunner, she was never picked, and now she's banned, she's first picked. And remember how Potom was used to pick in every single game? Now she's not even being picked anymore. So this just example I just told you just basically showcased that Dota is in CM mode, it's just a big popularity thing. Now Witch Doctor, the only thing that Ice Rock changed for Witch Doctor was the increase in 50 damage, and that's really not too much. 50 damage, magical damage is not really anything to justify the way that he's first picked in every single game in the change. So my past 2-minute rant is basically trying to say is that Dota is a very popular popularity based game. So even though Ice Rocks are making very small change on these range hero that I'm about to discuss, keep in mind these small change could influence people picking these heroes more and more, and thus change that hero into a popular pick. So the first thing I want to talk about is Crobolus. 5 seconds to 4 second cooldown Karen Swarm. Small change, would make pushing a lot more easier. The bigger thing I think is Temporal Assassin. Her spell range of damage got increased. I believe this is spell range on horizontal, so like if she shoots her little side blades, it spills out more to the left and right, and it does more damage in nearby area. It definitely gives her a better lane control early. And I mean, also it makes her do a little bit more damage in team fights and stuff, in close range team fights. That could justify some captains picking her, but again, this is a very small buff. Things like Lesh, Lina, and Lich, like they got stun time increase, they got cooldown decrease, movement speed increase. Like these are just very small things. Furion got some stats increase. I think the bigger change for all the range hero is gonna be Puck and Sniper. Well, Puck got a 2-second buff on his cooldown on his Illusionary Orb, so that should help out a little bit. I mean, Puck's a very novelty popular hero. He could crowd control pretty well during his team fight with his Dream Coil, so it's definitely worth justifying Puck being picked more because of his Illusionary Orb got a cooldown buff. And a lot of people have been talking about how Sniper is going to be the next carry hero to pick, and if you look at the change log, the only thing that really changed about the Sniper is that he got a sight buff at night, big whoop, 200 range, nothing big deal. And his other buff is that now Assassinate gives experience upon kill if they're out of experience range. As you know, there's I think it's 1,000 range to get experience, or I think it's 1,500 range. I'm not too sure about the exact number of the range, but once the hero is too far away from you outside of the experience range, you won't get experience. Of course, Assassinate travels up to 3,000 range, so a lot of times when Sniper gets a kill, he doesn't get any experience of it. Now this buff will change that, and Sniper will get a lot more experience upon kills. In the average game, I think I have to say Sniper gets at least 2 or 3 kills in the early game due to his Assassinate with his teammates ganking. So I mean, that's a good 1 level or 2 at least from Assassination. So I mean, you may be thinking it's a very small buff and won't really lead to anything. But again, Dota is a very popular, trendy game. Sniper is a great carry hero in its own right. Like through proper positioning, he could really wreak a lot of havoc. And 810 range is no joke. Like it's really no joke. Through the proper positioning, he could really decimate team fight. Of course, we are in a very blink heavy era, so Dagger really counter Sniper pretty well, so we'll see how that picks works out. But we have seen Chinese players, I think Ehome Burning has picked it recently, and he just totally raped the game. So definitely Sniper is being picked now, and I think with these buffs, he's gonna be picked even more. And the final range hero I want to talk about is everyone's favorite Hydralisk, the Venomancer. And Venomancer has been receiving a little bit of resurgence in the recent Chinese scene, and most teams are using him as a babysitter, as a roaming ganker, keeping him very low level fairly early, and then giving him the level he needs. And the most important thing that Venomancer maxes is Serpent Wards, because they do fairly respectable damage during a tower push, and that's how most of the Chinese team is playing it. And the Venomancer in the 6.68 got a boost in Poison Sting. Poison Sting used to slow from 10%, and now it slows 11, 12, 13, 14%. And you know, a small 4% increase doesn't really justify you know, Venomancer being picked more frequently. But again, like I said over and over again, Dota is a very popularity / trendy dependent game. So you know, teams are saying, oh, Ehome is picking that, LGD is picking that, and Venomancer is getting buffed. So maybe that's enough to work Venomancer being picked into more ganking oriented strats or pushing oriented strat, because Venomancer could definitely do both, and he you know, he could do some team fights as well with his ultimate. So definitely a pretty good hero there. And I think that's pretty much it for the range heroes. And again, the reason why I talked about the range hero first is that most professional team go pick range hero, like they just load range hero heavy and melee hero light. So it's not really, I mean, so what I'm about to talk about is the melee hero, and keep in mind that these heroes are fairly rarely picked in competitive mode. And I mean, even though some of these heroes got some nice buffs, but other than that, like, I don't think they'll see that much play. And speaking of you know, one of the most picked melee hero is the Alchemist. Alchemist got nerfed. His mana cost for the stun increased, and I think the damage got rescaled. It does less damage in early level. So I mean, Alchemist, generally most teams, I mean, the stun is definitely very good, but most teams definitely pick him for the acid spray and you know, Goblin Greed and his tanking power. So I'm not too sure whether that's too big of a nerf, but keep in mind Alchemist has very low mana pool. So an increase of 30 mana per unstable concoction is really big if you think about it. So that is a pretty big nerf. Now Axe is a hero that I really want to see more in competitive game. And now is that Battle Hunger on Axe now actually slows 8%, and it used to be the patented MYM Milk Axe build. He always got a single level Battle Hunger, just in the case where if the enemy got away of the Axe combo by, you know, 100 or, you know, not 100 HP, but maybe like 20 HP, you just dump the Battle Hunger on them and get the kill. Now the fact that Battle Hunger actually slow, it's very well justified to get one level of it. Nothing more though, just a single level, because all levels of the Battle Hunger slows by 8%. So it definitely works out. Battle Hunger slows by 8%. Of course, Axis, again, same thing to Alchemist, doesn't have a big mana pool, so you can't be spamming that Battle Hunger, you know, as a harassment tool like pubs do. But it's definitely not a bad way to, after you call and you just throw a Battle Hunger on them for the extra slow, and it's a constant 8% slow until it runs out, or until the unit is dead. And Battle Hunger has a pretty long duration, so that it's a constant 8% slow. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. So again, I'm not too sure whether this buff alone will make Axe becoming more picked. Probably not, because most teams are picking more you know, range, like I said earlier. So, but it's a pretty nice buff for lower level CMs where, you know, Axe get picked more often. And two heroes that got insane agility gain is that Bloodseeker intelligent gain from 2.6 to 3.0. That's a 0.4 increase. Bloodseeker is already pretty high damaging hero in his melee attack, so by gaining more, like, he's gonna gain a lot of damage. Keep in mind his silencing spell. If he casts on his spell, that's based on agility, so he's gonna do a lot more damage. So again, I'm not too sure. I mean, Bloodseeker is a viable counter pick to a lot of blinkers, to Storm Spirit. It's a definitely a great silence. So I mean, and he rapes casters, so he's definitely a good situational pick. Again, you generally don't see this in pro games, but it definitely is a good buff. And the other hero that got the big agility gain is the Stealth Assassin. A whopping 10 increase in agility. That's a heck lot. So now his starting agility is what, 34 or something ridiculous like that. And of course his starting armor and starting damage got lowered to compensate the increase in agility. And you might be thinking, you know, if it's compensated, what the hell is the big deal? The big deal is that his back blink strike damage, the backstab blink strike, does damage based on agility, and like, so the more agility you got, the more damage it does. And you guys already know that the Stealth Assassin does, you know, pretty respectable damage in terms of his backstab. And now that he's gonna even do more, like early game blink strikes gonna hurt a lot more now. Like, so I definitely think that Stealth Assassin could be picked worthy. A little bit of going off the tangent is that since the search site of the dust got decreased by 200 range, I mean, you probably could see a Stealth Assassin making a resurgence in competitive game. He was picked pretty often in 0.5 XOR era, so it's not too surprising why that he won't be picked again. So of course, Bounty Hunter got some nice little buffs too, but I'm not going to talk about him because he's not CM pickable. Broodmother got a armor decreased by 2. I believe her starting armor was 5, I want to say, before, and now it's 3. And that's still a very respectable starting armor, so I don't think this is nerf at all. Chaos Knight got buffs, but again, not CM pickable, so not going to talk him. Clockwork Goblin, I have to say, he got nice little buffs. His battery assault you know, got more damage. Hook shot cooldown got rescaled better, so it works better in early game, increasing a little bit armor. And Clockwork Goblin is, you know, he's always been kind of there, but not really. So these kind of little buffs, I don't think it will make him pick more frequently, but definitely it's not bad. Not a bad way to start if IceFrog want to give this hero more buffs in the future. But he's definitely, I don't think he's too pickable as of now. But again, Dota, very trendy game, very popularity based game, so you never know. Dirge, okay. Now the biggest problem with Dirge is that his Tombstone used to have a shitty cast range, 250, and now that it's actually 600, you can actually have some nice placement of your Tombstone, and you don't have to freaking get, you know, face to face to actually place it. So I think actually this single line of, you know, changelog will lead into bigger and better push strats being, you know, built, because Dirge is definitely a pretty good pushing hero. I mean, he does have the best single target heal and nuke in the game, 500 damage, 500 heal. That's crazy. With this Tombstone, you know, receiving a better placement, he could do some havoc in teamfight. So I definitely think that Dirge will be picked more often. You know, compared to the zero times that he was picked before, maybe he'll pick, you know, 5 or 6 times in 100 game or something. Like, that's better than nothing, right? Like, who doesn't want to see Dirge being picked? He's a big flesh golem, right? Everyone likes that. So I think that would lead to more pushing strats and ganking strats. Not a bad pusher in his own, and definitely a great slower. But I'll talk about slower in the next when I talk about a specific item. And moving on to the melee hero, we're gonna see a Doombringer. Doombringer got nerfed like crazy. The level def mana like got that decrease, and you might be thinking like, why the hell did it decrease level def? It got rescaled a little bit, so early game the level def actually costs more mana, and during a level 3 and 4 it costs less mana. And I think the reason is that a lot of Doombringer nowadays is just skipping level def early and go Scourge Earth, and I mean, or at least picking a single level of Scourge Earth and only getting level def at 3, 4, and 5. Of course, Devours at 1. So it really makes player think about, you know, the skill set on Doombringer a little bit more. Maybe they prioritize Scourge Earth a little bit and prioritize level def a lot more. So we'll see how that plays out. Of course, Doombringer got the bigger nerf of his Scourge Earth having a mana cost buff nerf, having Doombringer having the Scourge Earth mana cost nerf, and the Scourge actually, doesn't move you as fast. It's still a respectable 16% speed increase, so that's not too bad. But his starting intelligence also decreased, so Doombringer I think still is OP hero. Comparing to the Visage and versus the Doom nerf, I don't think Doom got nerfed as much as Visage.